You're 2 days into a blackout, running on stale coffee and ego, telling yourself you'll sleep later. But later never comes, and now you're making life or death calls with a brain that's basically running on emergency power. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. What's your plan when the real threat isn't hunger, cold, or other people? It's your own stupidity from sleep loss. Because in extended crisis, the silent killer isn't the loud chaos outside. It's the quiet mental collapse inside your skull. Most people think sleep is a luxury item, like dessert. Wrong. Sleep is a weapon system, and chronic deprivation is how you get defeated without a single dramatic moment, just a chain of small errors that stacks into disaster. If you want to be part of the tiny minority that stays functional when everyone else is melting down, hit subscribe and drop a comment with your worst sleep-deprived mistake. I'm not judging, unless you tried to fix something electrical with a butter knife. Here's the science they don't glamorize. Sleep loss hits judgment, impulse control, and reaction time first. You'll feel fine while you're objectively worse at planning, noticing threats, and doing basic math, like a drunk who swears they drive better after 2 drinks. And then come the microsleeps, tiny, involuntary shutoffs that last seconds. Seconds. That's long enough to miss a footstep, forget a latch, drift off a road, or let a pot boil dry in a sealed room. Decision-making doesn't fail like a light switch. It fails like rot. You get confident, not careful, impatient, not precise, loud, not smart. You'll start taking shortcuts that turn into long funerals for your plans. In a normal week, being tired means you forget an email. In a crisis, being tired means you misread a street, mishear a warning, or misjudge a stranger's intentions, and now you're in a situation you never needed to be in. Hollywood sells the myth of the sleepless hero. Real life punishes it. The "I'll sleep when I'm dead" crowd usually gets their wish faster than they planned because exhaustion makes you sloppy, and sloppiness is expensive. So treat sleep like ammo and water. Inventory it, protect it, ration it, and plan around it. If you don't schedule rest, chaos will schedule your collapse. Your first rule: set a minimum operational sleep floor. If you can't hit full nights, you still need a baseline, because below it, your brain starts lying to you with confidence. The goal isn't comfort, it's keeping your decision engine from grenading itself. Sleep debt is real, and it doesn't negotiate. You can borrow from tomorrow, sure, but interest comes due as irritability, tunnel vision, paranoia, and dumb mistakes that look mysterious later. If you're with a group, the solution isn't tough it out. It's watch rotations that protect cognition. 2-person teams minimum, staggered shifts, and a hard rule that nobody freelances extra hours because they feel fine. Here's a clean template. 4 hours on, 8 hours off is gold when you can manage it. If you can't, aim for protected blocks. Real sleep, not dozing in boots with one eye open while pretending it counts. Anchor sleep to the circadian rhythm whenever possible. Sleep when it's dark, do critical thinking when it's light. If you invert that for too long, you're fighting your own biology and you will lose. Light is a lever. Morning brightness tells the brain, wake. Evening darkness tells it, repair. Even in a bunker, fake it. Bright light early, dim red light late, and stop staring at screens like you're trying to hypnotize yourself into insomnia. Now let's talk naps, because naps are how you survive the ugly middle of a long emergency. The sweet spots are 10-20 minutes for a quick reset, or a full 90 minutes for a complete cycle. Anything in between can make you wake up feeling like a haunted corpse. Naps only work if they're protected. Earplugs, eye cover, and a buddy or alarm, because I'll just rest my eyes for a minute, is the first chapter of a disaster memoir. Caffeine is a tool, not a lifestyle. The move is to delay it after waking. Give your body 60-90 minutes first, then use it in measured hits, not a constant drip that turns into anxiety and a crash. And you cut caffeine earlier than you think. If you're drinking it late because you have to stay sharp, congratulations. You just sabotaged the next sleep block that would actually keep you sharp. Hydration matters because fatigue and dehydration hold hands like best friends at a bad party. Add electrolytes when you're sweating, and don't confuse wired with ready. That's just stress hormones throwing confetti in your bloodstream. Food timing matters too. Heavy sugar spikes feel good for 10 minutes and then you crash into fog. In prolonged stress, aim for steady fuel, protein, fats, and slow carbs, because you're trying to run a brain, not win a candy-eating contest. Temperature is another cheat code. A slightly cooler sleep space improves rest, while overheating turns sleep into shallow garbage. Ventilation, insulation under you, and a dry base layer beat toughing it out every time. Your sleep setup should be a system, not a pile. Pad under you, something to block drafts, something to control noise, and a plan for feet and hands, because cold extremities wake you up faster than fear. Noise discipline is survival discipline. If you can't control the environment, control your perception, ear protection, white noise, or a simple fan. The goal is uninterrupted deep sleep, not dramatic suffering for imaginary points. But what about security? Good. Ask that. Sleep and security aren't enemies. You build layers so you can rest without becoming reckless. Barriers, early warning, and a clear perimeter, even if it's just string and cans in a hallway. If you're in a high-risk area, rotate sleep like a professional, not like a panicked amateur. One rests, one listens, then swap. No martyrdom. Martyrs don't file good after-action reports. Here's a rule that saves lives. Nobody sleeps with critical gear scattered. Shoes placed, light ready, water reachable, and the same exact setup every time so you can wake up and move without thinking. Build a sleep kit the way you build a med kit. Eye cover, earplugs, spare batteries, a small timer, a compact blanket, and one comfort item that tells your nervous system, stand down. Comfort isn't weakness, it's function. Now the part nobody wants to hear, you can't willpower your frontal cortex back online. So you offload decisions to systems, checklists, standard routines, written notes, because memory under stress is a liar with a good story. Use decision gates. Example, no major travel decisions after midnight. No solo recon walks when exhausted. No equipment modifications after 18 hours awake. When you're tired, your confidence is not evidence. For big calls, use two-person integrity. If the plan involves moving locations, confronting strangers, or changing security posture, a second brain must confirm it. Sleep loss turns one brain into an echo chamber. Two brains at least gives you a debate. Create simple code words for your team. Pause, reset, sleep debt. If someone says it, the group stops and reevaluates. This prevents the tired leader from dragging everyone into a bad idea just because momentum feels productive. Movement helps alertness, but it's not magic. Short bursts, 10 push-ups, a brisk minute of pacing, a stretch sequence. The goal is to wake the body enough to finish a task safely, then get back to real rest as soon as possible. Breathing is a quiet weapon. Box breathing or slow nasal breaths can drop panic and stabilize focus without burning energy. When stress is screaming, controlled breath is how you keep the steering wheel in your hands. Cold water is another lever. Splash face, cool hands, or a brief cold cloth on the neck. It's not for comfort. It's to break the fog long enough to do the next thing without making a mistake you'll regret for weeks. Beware the second wind. That late-night surge feels like power, but it's often stress hormones pushing you past safe limits. You'll feel sharp right before you start doing unbelievably dumb things with absolute certainty. Learn the warning signs early. Rereading the same line, losing track mid-sentence, clumsy hands, emotional overreactions, and that weird tunnel vision where everything seems urgent and nothing seems important. That's not bravery, that's depletion. Do buddy checks like you're checking a pressure gauge. Ask simple questions. Time, location, next task, last meal. If answers wobble, that person is not fine, and the team adjusts before the mistake happens. In sleep deprivation, tiny errors breed. You leave a latch half closed. You forget where you put the radio battery. You misplace the only spare lighter. Individually annoying, collectively catastrophic, because crises punish repeated negligence. Communication gets weird too. People talk faster, listen worse, and assume meanings that weren't said. That's how teams fracture, over nothing, because everyone's brain is running hot and thin. Sleep loss also turns emotions into weapons. You get snappy, paranoid, and righteous. So make a rule. No arguments at 0300. If it matters, it can wait until brains are online. If it can't wait, use the checklist and keep it short. Driving or moving at night while exhausted is a high-risk hobby. If you must move, use call-outs. Left clear, right clear, stop, go. Keep speed low, tasks simple, and swap drivers before anyone feels tired, not after. Tools can compensate for tiredness, if you're disciplined. Red light at night, labeled containers, and always returning items to the same place. Fatigue turns your gear into a scavenger hunt, unless you build habits that don't rely on memory. If you're protecting family, sleep becomes a leadership responsibility. You don't get bonus points for being the last awake. You get consequences. Build shifts that let at least one adult get a solid block while another covers essentials. Kids in crisis still need sleep like a biological law because it is. If children spiral, the whole group spirals. Create a predictable wind-down routine. Same time, same quiet cues, even if the world outside is screaming. Pets are alarms, but they're also stress sponges. An anxious animal keeps everyone awake. So build calm, a designated spot, a chew, a familiar scent. You're not pampering, you're stabilizing the environment. If you're the leader, your job is to enforce rest. People will resist because exhaustion makes them irrational and prideful. You set the rule, you model it, and you treat sleep violations like leaving the door unlocked. Hero culture is poison. The guy who brags about not sleeping is the guy who forgets the critical step. In extended crisis, the real flex is consistent performance, not dramatic suffering. Security while sleeping is about early warning, not constant awake terror. Simple trip lines, a dog if you have one, a battery motion light angled toward a choke point, and a clear plan for wake and move if something triggers. If your group truly needs 24/7 coverage, you build shifts like an operation. Same hours daily, consistent handoffs, written logs. Random coverage feels flexible, but it destroys recovery because no one ever fully powers down. Some people get tempted by extreme polyphasic sleep. In emergencies, short blocks can work temporarily, but don't romanticize it. If performance drops, you pivot back to protected core sleep fast because your brain isn't a machine. You can't just optimize it forever. In communal shelters, sleep becomes a social battle. Noise, light, snoring, stress. Solve it with zones, quiet corner, red light rules, designated gear spots, and an agreed do not disturb window. Civilization is basically sleep agreements pretending to be culture. Sleep is also medical. Wound healing, immune function, and pain tolerance all get worse when you're chronically deprived. You can have all the supplies in the world and still fall apart if your body never enters recovery mode. Here's a brutal truth. Fatigue makes you underestimate danger and overestimate ability, so set a hard stop point. If navigation is confusing, if you're rereading signs, if the plan feels fuzzy, you stop, secure, and rest before continuing. Recovery isn't one nap and a pep talk. If you've been running hard, you need 2 good nights to climb out of the hole. First night repays immediate debt. Second night restores deeper balance. Don't wait until you're broken to start. When you must force alertness for a critical window, stack tools intelligently. Bright light, controlled caffeine, movement, and cold water. Don't stack panic. Don't stack sugar. Build a deliberate alertness protocol like you'd build a fire. Controlled, contained, purposeful. Pre-sleep matters too. Your brain won't downshift if you're doom-scrolling maps and arguing about hypotheticals. 10 minutes of calm routine. Notes, hydration, gear reset, slow breathing, signals safety enough to let sleep happen. People ask about supplements like melatonin. In a crisis, keep it simple and cautious. Low dose, test it before you need it, and don't rely on anything that makes you groggy when you might need to wake fast. Your environment and routine matter more than pills. And no, alcohol is not sleep. It's sedation with interest. It fragments rest and makes you wake up worse, especially under stress. If you're using it to knock out, you're trading tomorrow's performance for tonight's numbness. Sometimes you will be forced into sleep deprivation, storms, travel, emergencies, sick family. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is to know your limits, reduce risk, and stop pretending you're sharp when you're not. Honesty is a survival skill. Here's the part that separates survivors from casualties. The prepared person rests before the crisis peaks. Everyone else waits until collapse chooses for them. If you can rest now, rest now. That's not laziness. That's timing. So what do you do today? Write a watch rotation. Build a sleep kit. Set caffeine rules. Create a checklist for late-night decisions. And practice a 20-minute nap with a timer. because skills you don't rehearse don't exist when chaos hits. Then test your system like an adult. Run one weekend stress drill with reduced sleep and see what breaks. Your mood, your memory, your teamwork, your gear discipline. Fix the weak points now, not when the grid is down and you're negotiating with your own fog. You've got a choice. Keep worshiping exhaustion like it's courage, or start treating sleep like the force multiplier it is. Tonight, set a protected sleep block and defend it like it matters, because it does. Drop your best rest hack in the comments, subscribe, and get tactical.